Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Shall we see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhallow today? A late night episode, not D&D this time. Was just actually out for evening, meeting a few friends, having a good time, and I just got back pretty recently, to be honest. All things considered. So now we're just sort of recording, we're gonna vibe, we're gonna have a good time, playing a bit of Animal Crossing, and just trying to figure out what time to do D&D tomorrow, when or where this might happen, but I don't know. Good evening, everyone, and I'm Fawnhallow. It's 11:48 p.m. on Friday, October 4th, 2024. So how I was visiting. I don't know what to talk about today, to be honest. I just really want some water, to be honest. I feel quite thirsty. Went to a restaurant, well, a buffet restaurant, which probably has much higher sodium. Why? Most restaurant food has a lot of sodium or butter compared to actual home food. That's what I hear, you know, people's recollections being like, oh, you know, why is restaurant food so much better than like home cooked food? And it's like, because there's a stick of butter in it or something. Which is fair, not fair. I don't really know what it is. Yeah, I was, you know what, I'm gonna be like, I'm just trying to figure out D&D thing. Let's say provisionally 2 to 5 then. Then at the other people. Okay, with you. Because I feel like it makes more sense to do it sort of like in the afternoon thing. Evening time is very much a time, at least in my mind, of like, you know, playing games of, I mean, not to say that D&D isn't, but like, in my mind, D&D is, the only reason we play it so late is because I'm working the other hours. Optimal time, I think, is afternoon, because that's sort of like, it's time where people have, you know, definitely woken up and everything, but it's also time where people are starting to get a bit relaxed. Evening is sort of just like, I want like, brain shut off sort of activity. That's my perspective. I don't know. Maybe other people disagree. But yeah, I mean, like if I wasn't working during the day, I'd definitely have D&D earlier. But unfortunately, the earliest I can do it makes it become 7 to 10. But yeah, what am I going to talk about? You know what's crazy? I got another. Yes, that's right. Another Fountain Faerie quest from the Neopets. Daily fairy quest today. You might be like, what did you do with it? Because I only need one more fairy quest, Fountain Faerie quest, for the colour I want. You know, what other colours do I want? I want a grey PFN, but that's easy to get because grey paintbrush is very cheap from the event. I want a what was the other one I want? I immediately forgot. But there is one more I want, which is kind of expensive, which I was going to. Oh, I want a mutant cow, which I would use the fairy quest on, because apparently you can use, I was surprised, you can actually do a mutant dip. And then the other one I want is a robot bury, but you can't do robot at the fountain, I believe. I'm not even sure if I want a robot bury. Like, the ones I want, like, change all the time, you know, Neo colours, let's see. I do want a robot something, because I think the robot ones are very cool. But there's a lot of cool ones now, but a lot of them have ended up being quite costumey, which is, you know, good and bad. Good because now you can do cross paints, bad in the sense that the base colour is not all that interesting anymore. But I think Bori is the one I like the best. I think Saibani's pretty good. I already got a Wraith Saibani. Irie just looks a bit unnerving, to be honest. I just kind of like how happy the Bori looks. I do quite like the Hissy, but I already got a Hissy. So I don't even know what the other option would be for me. Because I don't want to have repeated Neopets. You might be like, you can just have more Neopets. Oh wow, the Ogryn actually looks kind of cool, but not sort of my vibe, I think. Totally is horrifying. Vandagai is surprisingly non-robotic. It's actually quite fuzzy. Yeah, I think Abori is still the one I like the best out of this. It just looks like a big old dog. So yeah, I don't know. I got another Fountain Faerie quest, and if you don't know about Neopets, you can't hold 2 Fountain Faerie quests. So I was like, okay, I guess I had to use up one of them. Like, what am I going to use it up for? And I was like, I guess I'll do the cross paint, you know, I wanted to do. For when I was talking about, which I said was way too expensive. But one to get a relic Drake cross paint because I wanted the gold coins, and I was like, well, I mean, I got a spare Fountain Faerie quest, what else am I going to use it on? So that's what I did. So I turned I turned a random pet. I have a lab rat pet, which I adopted from. I don't know if it's actually good to do this or not, like if it's frowned upon or whatever. But I adopt some random pets from a pound, and then I zap them, and then when they change into an interesting color, I put them back in the pound so someone else can pick them up, I guess. I don't know if that's like taboo or something on Neopets, because I've never actually really thought about it, because I don't know. I mean, in my mind, I'm just like, I'm doing it because like I got Labrate, I might as well use it. And then, like, maybe I'll make someone happy who's surfing through a pound being like, oh my gosh, this pet. And that means I either want this pet or it's a pet I can trade to get my dream pet. You know, I think that's pretty cool. But yeah. I forgot what I was going to say about this, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, when you just have, like, spare boons, spare benefits, it's like, what am I going to do with it? That's what I did. So I used it to get... And like the Fairy Festival is still far from over, so there's a decent chance I get another one. So I was trying to make a list of what cross paints I would want, because I could use it to get a grey paintbrush, but a grey paintbrush must be so cheap. It must be less than $1 million or something, which isn't like, not nothing. Like, I'm gonna guess it's 600,000, 900,000. Okay, it's a bit more expensive than I thought. It's about $1 million. That's really not that expensive, especially because you can get it from the current event. So I could use it on that to save $1 million, but I think it's better for me to just get some more expensive cross paints out of the way. And the grey PFN I want, I was like, oh, I could cross paint it either with Stealthy or Elderly Girl, or both if I get enough things, I think. Because they have very sort of like greyish, depressing looking clothes. I'm not sure depressing looking clothing is the right word, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. Anyway, Neopets has a lot of events going on. It's got like had almost 3 simultaneous events going on. Which is too much. There was too much daily stuff to do, so I basically stopped doing all the daily stuff except for the daily fairy quest, because that's like pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's a weird design, you know. I mean, Neopets obviously has very sort of old design. It's like early 2000s or something. So of course, it wasn't going to be anything. It's not going to have a most optimal design after everything. But what I was going to say was, it's a bit weird because you can't like stack up boons or whatever, or benefits or anything, which I guess is kind of good, because then you can't just like hoard them for and never use them. It's kind of like the situation you have when you whatchamacallit, when you have like so many health potions or like revival items in a game, and it's like, oh, you should use them. The game wants you to use them. The game is designed around you using them, but people like me will never use them because I'm like, I could always use it more efficiently. Like, it's almost like a good thing Neopets had that, because if Neopets didn't have that, I would stock up these Fountain Faerie quests. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to work out logically which pet paintbrushes I want most, and then find out how, like, we'll order them from expensive to cheap, and then like we're going to do that to try and get the most efficiency out of it to save the most money. But now it's sort of just like, oh, you know, it's actually pushing me to do it. Pushing me to be like, oh, you know, you have a Fountain Faerie quest lined up and you just got another one. You paint something. You have to paint something now to actually get value out of it. And I was like, okay. Which is good, because it actually means you get the benefits for doing something. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I just try to think of this from, like, a game design perspective, of course. I'm not a game designer, so what do I know about game design at the end of the day? But things like that are, like, interesting to think about. Like, if you design a game and you have a load of items in it, you don't want your players to hoard the items, right? You want your players to use them. Like, that's what you developed the system for, so they can see it. Like, or you balance the game around the usage of such items, or like as a mechanic that you really loved, and you're like, oh, I want to see how the players use it, like creatively or inventively, unless it was specifically designed to be like a helper item or something, like a optional helper item. You want to do that. And then it must be incredibly frustrating as a game designer to see, well, maybe not incredibly frustrating, but a little bit saddening to see some players go through and they don't even use it. And it's not a bad thing, of course, like that's the player's choice if they want to use it or if they don't want to use it. But it must be like, from a designer perspective, being like, come on, like, please interface with these game mechanic systems. I worked hard on making them. And like, sure, you can play however you want, but you're just like, but there's always the expectation that the average player, right, will try and interface with most mechanics, provided they understand the mechanics. But there'll always be specific people who are just like, oh, I'm going to do, like, you know, speedrunners aren't going to Well, speedrun is going to take it to the extreme, to be honest. Or people who want to do like minimalist runs, like myself on Cuphead, be like, oh yeah, I'm never going to buy the other shots. Someone like that. Did I end up using the other shots when I S-ranked the game? I actually don't remember. It wasn't that long ago. I'm pretty sure I didn't do it for playing through normally, and then I did do it for S-ranking. But even then, I don't know. I think I just mainly used Spreadshot, if I remember. Not the point. The point is, yeah, surely you want your players to like interface with this mechanic, so you're like, please do it. And that's actually a really good way to do it, is like you, instead of allowing them to like hoard up all these items, you actually just like put a hard limit on how many things they can stock up. I never really thought about that. Like, I would not use those Fountain Faerie quests if they didn't force me to use them, because then it'd be wasted. Because it's a key for players like me. Like, why am I holding up? It's because I want to be efficient with it. What's the most efficient thing is to use it only on the most expensive items and when I need them. And when will that be? Is when I have like it all planned out which items I want, and thus I know which ones are the most expensive, and then I will start using them on the most expensive items. So the way to get someone like me to actually use these items is to change the definition of efficient. Yes, it is most efficient to use it on the most expensive items to get them for free, but it's way more efficient, or it's way less efficient to lose it entirely and not use the boon at all. So it's much better for me to just straight up try using it at some point, right? And I find that fascinating. Like, it's shifting what the goalposts are. It's shifting the definition of efficiency, being like, oh, you want to maximize efficiency? Okay, well, I'm going to make this the most efficient option now. You use your item or you lose it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll use it then. And it's just like a very small change, but then it has a quite big effect of meaning that I actually change up how I use or interact with a game by actually interacting with the intended mechanics now. Isn't that kind of neat? I think it's kind of neat. Maybe it's not kind of neat to you, but like, it's just like, I don't know. There must be like a word for it when you have like, it's not like limited supply or something, because the supply is not limited. It's how much you can stock is limited. So like limited stock, limited storage, meaning everything needs to be much more sort of carefully thought through of when you can't actually afford to use or not use it. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry, I'm playing shiny colours on my other monitor. I just got like 3 perfects in a row, which is insane. Yeah, which is just a fascinating sort of idea, I think. To see, just a fascinating sort of neat little bow to a solution which I'm not really sure was that much of a problem in the first place, but it's certainly enough that I think as a game designer you got to think about it. Because like I'm guilty of it as well, like for when playing games, to just like hoard up all my items, to like never use them, be like, oh, you know, this is sacred, like I might need this more at some other point, rather than just being like, oh, like I need this, I don't need this item now, but it would be really helpful if I use this item now to sort of make everything go a bit smoother, to make everything be a bit neater, to lessen the stress of a game. And I think, to be fair, there is a point here of like having the stress of a game versus like the challenge of a game, because you know, sometimes I'm like, I want the game to be challenging, and I feel like this item makes it too easy. But you also got to evaluate with yourself, like, am I just doing this for like self-righteous reasons, and I'm not actually enjoying the concept of playing like this, or do I actually have a legitimate reason to be withholding from it? Do I have a legitimate reason to try and play a bit more conservatively, to try and like make things a bit harder for myself, even if a game isn't designed that way? And sometimes there is a lot of fun in that challenge, and sometimes it's a bit pointless, and I think identifying that is really the important part. But if you are designing a game, I suppose, with where that's not in mind, you're not designing like an RPG where you can just like hoard up all the items and then like use them to blaze through a boss, because that's a problem. Like when you do hoard these items and when you get to the final boss, I know there's a meme like, oh, I still might need it or something in the end game. Maybe that's true, like with a sort of like sense of inertia, people don't use it. But it's also like relatively true that people be like, it's a final boss, I might as well use all my items. Use all the items. It was an absolute cakewalk, and the difficulty curve and the climactic end to the boss sucked because they basically cheesed it just with items. Really, the items should be used to cheese through content that you don't like. Like if there's like a secret boss with like a insane difficulty, some people can just interface with it like by using a normal amount of items, but some people can just be like, you know what, I don't want to do that. I'm going to just cheese through a boss so I can get the cool weapon or the cool achievement or the scene or whatever, you know. But yeah, I forgot really where I was going with this. I was sort of just saying that, like, yeah, if you want people to use these items, you just gotta find a way to push them to do it, and to push them to do it is make it so it's less efficient to not use the items, but not all the time. It's probably a very delicate, it is a very delicate balance, isn't it? Like, it's not like it's as simple as, oh, just do a then, and you'll be completely fine. No, you got to know exactly when to do it, and when to hold back. Which is what I think makes game design such an interesting point. This is more sort of like a probabilistic thing, I think. To be like, you can use it here, you can not use it here, and finding the exact sort of like parameters you need to get the optimal use, not sure optimal usage, but for your average user to use it at the times you intend them to use it. That's interesting. So yeah, like limited boons, limited buffs. Let's go limited boons. I was just trying to think what I would title this episode, to be honest. Yeah, if you have a limited, it's like use them or lose them sort of thing. I mean, to be fair, like this sort of scarcity is also fair as well, because it's pretty good from like from a different perspective as well. If you're someone like creating like an online service game for whatever reason, you want to maximize spending, you give people benefits that expire eventually, right? That's like the whole reason that like point rewards exist. If you'll probably notice that most of the point rewards you get will eventually expire because they want you to feel the benefit of using them, but most people end up not actually using them, or not using them efficiently, or not even participating in them, and thus end up losing out on the benefits. And that's, you know, great, because then they get to offer like, oh, they have these rich benefits that people can use and benefit from, but at the same time, not everyone does. So it's sort of like a yeah, but at the same time, not everyone does, so they don't have to pay as much money as they would project it if they just gave that benefit to everyone. Which obviously, you know, sucks from a consumer perspective, but it's a weird thing, because I find these, like, business tactics and things, obviously very frustrating as a consumer, very annoying. You know, it'd be much better if these rewards were just permanent forever. But, like, it's almost like from a probabilistic standpoint, I find it fascinating, like, from a design perspective. Like, from an efficiency perspective. Which, you know, I was saying, like, no, does that feel wrong or something? But I'm like, I don't think it's necessarily wrong to be fascinated and interested by things, no? That's by nature of who I am. And I think it'd be wrong to try and go against that necessarily. I'm not saying that these are going to be tactics I employ or anything. One, I don't run a business, so that's certainly not within reach. Well, I don't know, maybe in future sometime within reach. But then it's going to be like at some point, you know, you look at the metrics and you're doing it and be like, oh, why don't we just have like this bad business practice? And the answer is people just don't interface with it then. And seeing it from a game design perspective is interesting. Because if the points didn't reward, maybe you just hold them forever and then people would never actually use the benefits of them. And then, you know, it's sort of like a give and take. If people never use the benefits, people won't like word of mouth, like spread, like build up a good reputation of like how great these benefits are because they never like interface with them. So I don't know. These are things that probably like business financial people think about all the time, and I'm just like, whoa, it's blowing my mind that they might have to think about this sometimes. And they roll their eyes and they go, duh, what did you think we do? And I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, use it or lose it, I suppose. Which I feel like has, hold on, use it or lose it. I feel like it was used in some purpose or something. Legal rationale. Property and privilege will be lost if they're not utilised. Anyway, that's all I was going to really talk about today, to be honest. I don't have much more follow-on conversation. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.